What's up, everyone? Alright, so we're going to be doing a little testing today. We're going to be benchmarking. Now, we're basically going to be putting two computers head to head, and we're going to see the results. Now, the computer to your left, which is this monitor right here, is different than this one, but it is the same but different computer. Now, this one on your left has an Intel i7 6700K, 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM at 2400 megahertz, an XFX R9 390 video card, and 240 gigabyte SSD. The one on your right is the same specs. i7 6700K, processor, 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM at 2400 megahertz, 240 gig SSD, and the R9 390 XFX. Now, the only differences are two things in these computers. The first one is completely irrelevant, which is the SSD. The one on your right has a PNY, the one on your left has a Patriot Blaster. The other difference, and we're going to see if there is a difference as far as performance, is the motherboard. So this one right here has the Asus B150 Pro Gaming Aura motherboard, and this one has the Asus Z170 AR motherboard. Now, right off the bat, I know it's Asus, I call it Asus. But anyways, we're going to be running the same benchmarks, same settings, same specs, just a different motherboard, and we're going to see what happens. Now, both of these computers are running stock clocks throughout the whole thing. All the parts in here I have set to right out of the box. No overclocking, anything like that. Now, as far as cooling, they both have an open loop cooler. This one has the EK Waterblock 360 Extreme kit. This one has a Thermaltake Big Water 760 Pro with an additional 360 rad. So they both have 360 rads. This one actually has a 360 and a 240, but they're both liquid cooled. So they are both going to be running a nice cool temperature. So we're going to see how they battle it out. Let's get started. Okay, as you can see, they're running the same benchmarks right now. Generally, timed pretty perfectly. I didn't start the benchmarks yet. I'm going to click them right now. They are both on the same exact settings as each other. Alright, they're both at 1080p, because that's the only monitors I have are 1080p. But I'm going to turn away from the camera, and I'm going to hit start at the same exact time. So, let's get both mice ready. Ready. 1, 2, 3, go. They are both benchmarking at the same time. So, we're going to see how this pans out. See you in the next cut. I gotta say though, looks pretty cool having two different computers running the same exact thing at the same exact time. So, as you can see, it's still running though. There's not really much to see. I just made sure that the stock clock for the video card, they're both on there at 1000 and 1015 megahertz. So, yeah, now the temperature's a little screwed up. I'm going to have to read it like directly off, but for some reason the temperature is reading 57,249 degrees Celsius. I think at that temperature, I would implode. I would. And this one is at 85,000. Oh, wait a minute. This one is at 858,414 degrees Celsius. That's pretty fucking hot, huh? Now, obviously, they're not running anywhere near that number, but yeah. So as you can see, they're both still running, and just got to play the waiting game. At this point, we are at scene 21 of 26 on the Heaven benchmark. And after this Heaven benchmark, we're going to be going over to the Valley. And after the Valley, we're going to go over to Fire Strike. So we're going to have probably about 3 benchmarks. We might do Fire Strike Ultra, maybe a few other 3D Mark ones. I'm not sure quite yet, but right off the bat, I can guarantee you we're doing the Heaven and the Valley. Okay, it just finished the Heaven benchmark, and the B150 setup. Let me see if I can zoom in so you guys can read that. Scored a 90.1. The score was 2270. Minimum frames per second was 9 frames. Maximum was 161.6. Which brings us over to the next one, which has the Z170. That one scored a 91.1 frames per second. The score was 2294. So slightly higher. Minimum frames was 9, but the maximum frames was 164.9 instead of 161.6. That, it's kind of I mean, that's not really saying much. It's not saying it's better, it's not saying it's worse or anything like that. That is basically, room for error at that point. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the Valley benchmark, and I'm actually not even going to cut it. You're going to see me close that, quit that, close, quit, okay, okay. So now it goes through there. Okay, let me click that, X that out. Now we're going to go over to the Valley, X that, we're going to go over to the Valley, and we're going to go back over to Ultra settings on both of them. And we're going to go to ×2 anti-aliasing this time. Single monitor, quality ultra. And instead of doing system resolution, which is 1080p, I want to make sure they're both set on 1080p. So I want them identical. And we're going to see if this benchmark gives us any different. So right now it's doing the lovely loading time, but just in case there is a difference, that's why I'm keeping this video on without a cut until I start it, just so everybody can see that I'm not changing anything. So now that we got it open, get both 1, 2, 3, go. Benchmarking at the very same time, and we're going to see if there's any difference with the Valley benchmark. Honestly, my opinion, I don't think there's really going to be much of a difference, but might as well put this small rumor to rest. There's not a big rumor about it or anything like that, but I have, come across people wondering if they should get a Z170 for gaming. So, we're going to find out now, aren't we? Sorry about that. And the results are in. So, just like last time, we're going to go over to this one first, and we're going to look at the results. So, let's zoom in on that. So, let me scroll down a bit. Alright, so the frames per second was 80.3. The score was 3359. Minimum frames per second was 29.7. And maximum frames was 149.4. And underneath that you can see it says Windows 8. It's actually Windows 10 on both systems. Intel Core i7 6400 or 6700K at 4 gigahertz. And you can see the video card, so you can actually see that stuff. So we're going to go over to this one. Now this one scored 81.4 frames per second, and the score was 3405 compared to 3359. The minimum frames per second was 30.5 compared to 27 or 29.7. The maximum frames was 152 even compared to the 149.4. Now, these are both at the same exact settings. And yeah. So basically, from these benchmarks, what is this telling us? Yeah, it's pretty scary zooming in on me, huh? What is this telling us? This is telling us that if you're just buying a motherboard, you're not looking to overclock, you're not doing anything ridiculous, you're just literally building a gaming computer, you don't plan on overclocking in future, you can go with either board. You can go with whatever is a better budget for you. If you can find a B150 cheaper than a Z170, go with the B150. If you find a Z170 board cheaper than a B150, go with the Z170. Whatever fits in your budget will work, as you can see, basically the same exact. I'll be honest, I kind of knew it was going to be the same. But yeah, I mean, if you're just looking for a motherboard, you're not looking to overclock, you're not looking to do anything crazy, you can just go with whatever suits your needs. The B150 Pro Gaming Aura, for instance, has nifty RGB lighting on it. And it's a nice looking board. And my Z170, it's a pretty plain board. It's black with white plastic on it. So yeah, I guess once again, go with whatever fits your budget. As far as right out of the box, no overclocking, they perform the same. So I hope this helps somebody out if they're trying to figure out what motherboard to get. And yeah, that's about it. Until next time, have a good one.